Beautiful now. So I would like to talk about the other three Bardos, which are the Bardo of death, the Bardo of dying, and the Bardo of rebirth. And these are three aspects of the Bardo that are very intense and unpleasant. They are, for lack of a better term, our own private apocalypse. The end of our world, both on a literal and then on a symbolic level, on an inner level. So let's start with the Bardo of dying, which is where the Bardo of dying it begins when we start to enter the place where our body is going to die. Now, this could be very quick, or it could be months and months. Some people are in the Bardo of dying for 5 or 10 years. When they get the disease that is going to kill them, they enter the Bardo of dying. Now, you can enter the Bardo of dying. For example, I had the pleasure of being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at one point. So I was in the Bardo of dying very deeply for a number of months. When I was diagnosed as clean and cancer-free, I left that Bardo of dying. So you can cross in and out. You could get a disease like, say, a flu, and that flu could take you. You could enter into the Bardo of dying because you cross over and get closer to death than you are to life. So these lines are not black and white. They're many shades of gray, and they're very fluid. They're always moving. A person can cross over into the Bardo of dying and out of the Bardo of dying very fast and not even know it. But the one mark that you will know that you've crossed into it is the fluidity of the situation and the feeling of time stopping, or this immense expansion. And almost like the moment has no bounds, endless nowness, because that is the truth. And each time one of the Bardos is crossed, the experience of endless nowness becomes very, very clear before we move into another one of the Bardos. So, the Bardo of dying is a continuous dissolution where we are slowly experiencing our loss of control. And it's one of the reasons no one wants to think about it, is because of the reality of losing control. But if we accept this is just part of life, which it is not a bad or horrible thing. It's just what is. And it's a surrendering, which is a very key element in our equation, is learning when to surrender and how to surrender, and not just to resign to a situation, and not surrender with anger and resentment, but surrender with joy and allowing. So, the Bardo of dying ends the minute our biological machine stops and we enter into the Bardo of death, where we are now in a purely visionary state, because we have not gone somewhere. We are in the mind. The mind is no longer in the body, but our consciousness is within the mind. That mind is a world very much like the world of dreams. It's as vast as this world and has numerous facets and participants within it, but they are all parts of our consciousness. If at any point we can recognize this, we liberate. The images turn to light, we recognize we are the light, and we attain a higher state of awareness. If we don't, the game goes on. If we react, we move down towards a body again, a physical form, once we react in the Bardo of death. Reaction in that space is always movement towards a womb. Now, whether I think this is true or not is irrelevant. I'm It is more how it is a potential map, and it's more how it applies to us now. So this is not so much about a belief system as it is a series of symbols and how to understand those symbols. One of the things that makes the Bardo of Death so hard to map out is everyone will see what they expect to see. If you expect to see Jesus, you will see Jesus. If you expect to see Buddha, you will see Buddha. If you expect to see a Native American or a shaman, that is what you will see, because we are dealing with beings and spaces of pure light, and we project images onto them to make them familiar. So there are no set images in the Bardo of Death. What you're dealing with is images breaking into eternalized states or into geometric patterns of light and energy. The images are how we make it familiar. So every image is accommodated in this space. Once we react and pull away from the guide in the Bardo, we enter into the Bardo of becoming, which is seeking out a womb. Seeking out a womb, we are driven by a storm. There's this feeling of impending danger and just wanting to find a place to hide or to shelter ourselves. And when we do, that will be a womb. These wombs, we won't see them as that. We will see them as places of refuge and places of protection. So this state is, the Book of the Dead is constantly telling us not to trust what you see. And this is a very important thing. In general, in all Bardos, is not to always believe what you see. And that's the main teaching of understanding Bardo dynamics, is things appear a certain way and you will feel things because of how that appears. We need to question the appearance in order to clarify our feelings. If we don't question the appearance or look beyond what we think the appearance means, our feelings solidify. And in that solidification, we create realities. Ironically, this description of the Bardo of Death applies as much to life as it does to the after-death state, if not more to life, because who knows what happens when we die. I have a unique perspective on the Book of the Dead because I remember parts of the Bardo. When I was a child, I remembered it. And if I would have read the Book of the Dead then, it would have made sense. Many of us remember parts of the Bardo. We just have no context for what we're remembering. After all, we've all been there, which is here inside of us, millions of times. Every time we've died. Every time we've
changed the clothes of our identity.
Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like us and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified for when we post new videos. We would really love to hear your comments and suggestions. We love questions. We'll be happy to answer any of the questions you ask and go more in depth on them. We're exploring a number of very deep topics, so please ask. We'll talk to you soon.